Welcome to Our Morning Take, the podcast where our goal here is to describe for you the mood that is going on in our head when we read the Bible.
The big news today, it's Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Love me some Fridays.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yes. No
Friday, way to be here.
No birthdays. No special day this week. No birthdays.
January the 26th. I believe if my memory serves me, it is my sister's birthday today. It's Roxanne's. She was born the day after. Whoa.
Today's your birthday.
Turn out the red light.
Those days are over.
See, I knew that someone would come into the podcast. We are live and we are on Friday, but you're welcome to come on in and have a seat if you want. Put some headphones on. We'll interview you real quick. We just had the associate pastor of Southside Baptist Church pop his head in here, Brother Mike Criswell, and he just wanted to know what we're doing. What are we doing?
I was just seeing how y'all were doing.
Yeah, this is how we're doing. This is what we do.
Oh, good.
All right, brother. We'll see you in a little bit. I believe it's my sister's birthday. She was born the day after Jennifer was. I just remember my mom and dad celebrating her birthday the day after Jenny was born, the actual day she was born.
Wow.
And like the next day, I think, was Roxanne's. So, yeah. And Roxanne would be 40? No. 30. No, she's only 38, I think. 37. 38. I believe 86. I believe it's when she was born. That would be 37. Anyway, right? 36?
Yeah.
Roxanne, if I got it wrong, I'm sorry. She does listen to the podcast too, so there you go. She's one of our. From time to time, she'll listen.
She's one of our 5 listeners.
We're up this week.
Oh, wait, especially after Monday, we'll definitely be up.
Did you guys see the Anthony Totoro spike on Christmas Day?
Man,
That was phenomenal, man. That day.
It sounds like a medical term.
It was a little
the
bit-
Anthony Totoro spike.
Yeah.
The Anthony Totoro spike. Yeah.
30
Yeah, he did a great job.
Yes, he did.
We don't discuss numbers on the air.
Let me tell you something.
37 million. We had
Yeah,
like
30.
37 million
Nick,
views that day.
that day, everybody in the studio's mouth hit the floor when Anthony started talking about
He
Moses.
said, his name is Moses, which means pulled him from the river. I said, Nick must have been teaching him. Nick does teach chapel in there. Nick says today he went to, he does chapel on Tuesdays and we record on Tuesday night. Nick said that he wasn't himself, was he?
No, he looked like he had recently had the flu.
Yes, and he has. He's just getting over it. So, yeah, he was.
He paid attention to everything, but he looked like he would have rather
he was
be laying
wiped
down.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was quiet today. So we finished up the 3rd chapter yesterday, and we were talking about it. But I do kind of want to get into the 4th chapter. Do you have it ready to go?
Are
Ian?
we done? I didn't
kind of
realize.
Yeah. Well, we read all the way to verse 22, and we talked about you're going to plunder the Egyptians when you leave.
Okay.
So all I'm saying is I do have a couple things to say here, but I kind of want to. I might want to read a little of chapter 4.
Oh, okay. Listen, no
before we get out of it. Yeah, because this is his 3rd excuse, and I kind of want to. We start to get into the real meat of why Moses doesn't want to do this now. It was one thing. And Tim asked a question. What do you got, buddy?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I thought you had a question.
No.
Anyway, so Moses asked, well, who am I? Well, that's a typical question. We should all ask that question when God calls us. Well, who
Yeah.
am I? And as long as we get confirmation that God is going to go with us, we're good. And then Moses' second question, which was really a question, he wasn't trying to not go. He's just like, look, when I go down there, I want to tell them who's sending me, okay? Because nobody knows your name, not really. I mean, we know your name's God, but, who are you? And so he lays it all out for him. And I'm the God of your father, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The elders will understand that. They will believe you, and they will tell you this. And then he goes through this one more thing where he talks about, and when you do finally leave Egypt, don't think you're going to go out there in the desert empty-handed. You are not. You are going to go out of there wealthy people.
In style, yeah.
Yeah, you've spent 400 years or so here in Egypt, and you're going to get some reparations when you finally leave. These are some slaves that actually got some reparations on their way out. Right, Abe?
I'm not even going to touch that. But
Black History Month's coming up next week, right?
Wow.
Just saying.
But you're not really going to get an idea of what they left with until you get into deep in the story in Exodus and Numbers when they start building the tabernacle. Then you will realize how much they had when they left Egypt.
Well, when 3 million people take from all their neighbors, that's a lot of money. That's all I'm going to say. So, yeah.
you really get an idea when they start building the ark and the tabernacle how much stuff they got.
Yeah, but you're right. It's not time to really cover that now. But God's letting Moses know, just check it out. You're going to have plenty when you go.
He's basically giving them clear direction. This is what you do when you get there. I'm going to be with you. And he just goes through the whole list. And he's again, you're not leaving empty-handed on top of that.
So most of us at this would get excited.
Yeah.
Now I'm excited.
Absolutely.
So let's hear from Exodus chapter 4. We're going to let our reader read to us just a little bit.
I wonder how long would you like him to read for?
Well, we'll just check it out. Just be ready. Exodus chapter 4.
Exodus chapter 4.
I just said that.
And Moses answered and said,
But behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, The Lord hath not appeared unto thee.
And the Lord said unto him,
What is that in thine hand?
What is that in your mouth?
And he said,
A rod.
And he said,
Cast it on the ground.
And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses fled from before it. And the Lord said unto Moses,
Put forth thine hand and take it by the tail.
And he put forth his hand and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand.
That they may believe that the Lord God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob hath appeared unto thee.
And the Lord said furthermore unto him,
Put now thine hand into thy bosom.
And he put his hand into his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. And he said,
Put thine hand into thy bosom again.
And he put his hand into his bosom again, and plucked it out of his bosom, and behold, it was turned again as his other flesh.
And it shall come to pass, if they will not believe thee, neither hearken to the voice of the first sign, that they will believe the voice of the latter sign. And it shall come to
let's go on. I do want this last little part, because here's the key.
If they will not believe also these two signs, neither hearken unto thy voice, that thou shalt take of the water of the river, and pour it upon the dry land. And the water which thou takest out of the river shall become blood upon the dry land.
Yeah, so God gives him two miracles that's going to take place. I think when Moses asked the question, what if they don't believe me? Do you think that there's this underlying thing that maybe Moses doesn't believe him?
Yeah.
Well, there's one thing I definitely found out.
What?
He's afraid of snakes.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
That bass player was pretty up.
Yeah. But then when Moses is
I
like,
love that bass in there. That was cool.
then Moses is like, oh, they won't believe me. And then God's like, okay, first of all, cool your jets, Bazoid.
Exactly. This is why I'm saying I kind of get this movie in my head that, yeah, Moses asked him for the people.
Yeah.
But he's kind of asking for himself, too.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, he's got to know that this is a miracle. He's hearing a bush talk to him. All of this is pretty phenomenal. But then Moses is like, but how can I really believe what's going on? And God literally gives him two very personal miracles. One, the rod, which, like you said, turns into a snake, which is something that he does not like at all.
He probably been running from him, for 40 years.
Yeah. So I imagine it being like a cobra, too, or something like
Yeah.
big.
Well, that's in the Cecil B. DeMille. That's what it is. But then he tells him to grab it by the tail. Now, that took some courage right there.
He's
Really?
like, the movie in my head, I could just see Moses like, no, grab it by the tail.
Can I grab it with my leprous hand?
That comes later.
So so I'm sure he tells Moses the whole thing first. Grab it by his tail, and it will turn back into a rod. Okay, 'cause I'm not grabbing
Like,
that thing.
okay, God, does it do it like immediately, or do I have to shake it a little bit?
Right before it bites me. Yeah. So anyway, so he does that, and then he says, "Okay, now put your hand in your shirt." And so he does, and it comes out leprous.
Is it like what?
That's screaming, what in the world just happened?
Yeah.
Right? And then he says, put it back in. He brings it back and it's whole.
Yeah.
Now listen, if Moses had any inclination that this was not the Almighty God and that I'm with you and I'm going to take care of you, that should have covered both of those. So when he goes, What will happen if they don't believe me? But what I like is that God doesn't even stop with even those first two. Like if they don't believe the first one, surely they'll believe the second one. But I'm even going to go so far as to give you a third one.
Yep.
When you put that rod in the Nile, it's going to turn to blood. And they will understand what's going on. Man, it's going to be a cool story next week. You don't want to miss it.
You don't want to miss it.
So get to church this weekend,
Please go to church.
and we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully we have the whole gang back together. Thanks, Nick, for coming in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you guys. It's good to be here.
Keep your hand out of your bosom.